You're listening to The Straight Line on MRN.com, presented by O'Reilly Auto Parts. O'Reilly Auto Parts, better prices every day.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to MRN's The Straight Line, presented by O'Reilly Auto Parts. Ralph Shaheen and Doug Herbert here. Hey, you made it this time.
I made it. I got to the finish line. Oh, man.
What happened to you?
Well, I took this part-time job flying corporate jets, and so when you fly guys around in corporate jets, usually they're big shots, and the big shot made a change to our schedule, so that was it. I was on his schedule, and I was supposed to be here and didn't make it.
And
so I apologize. I watched the show, listened to the show.
Okay.
Everything was great. Everybody busted my chops.
We had a lot of fun at your expense. Yes,
yeah,
we did.
I know.
Yeah.
I felt it.
And
But
let's just be clear on this. You're not the flight attendant. You're actually flying said jet.
I'm the pilot. Yeah, it's a Hawker jet. I've been flying jets for a long time, and it's fun. We actually flew Coach Rivera here a couple weeks ago. It was pretty fun. And I know him, and he walks, "Hey, Doug, what's going on?" I go, "Oh man, nothing. What are you doing here?" And I said, "Well, I'm flying." And he goes, "Oh," and he goes, "I've been flying long." And I said, "No, I stayed at Holiday Inn Express last night." And he was like, "Oh my god!" So, anyways, we had a lot of fun.
Yeah,
and, it is a lot of fun. It's fun flying. It's kind of like driving a race car. It's a lot of focus, a lot of concentration.
Yeah,
and
I'm glad to hear you're focused and concentrating.
Oh, you have to be pretty focused and concentrating.
Yeah, I think so.
I mean, you're going 500 miles an hour, so you have to be thinking pretty far out ahead of where you are.
I'm going to think the speed is probably the least of your concerns for you when you're up there.
Yeah, the speed
is not.
The speed's not concerned. It's making sure you got to be a machine flying an airplane because you can't make any mistakes. And you look on the road, right? You go every day and you see crashes here and there. There's not very many airplane crashes, and that's because pilots generally don't make very many mistakes.
Good. Well, let's keep it that way.
That's exactly right.
Hey, speaking of focus and fast, Pomona in the rear view now. Some guys went really well at Pomona. The weather, not so much. But who impressed you the most at Pomona?
I got to say, Doug Coletta. I think Doug Coletta impressed me the most. He won the race. New crew chiefs, Troy Fashing and Rob Flynn. Rob Flynn worked for me in the past. A great guy. I think he was a good addition to the team over there. And, man, to get to the winner's circle, back-to-back winter national, that's great. Anybody can say what you want. Oh, yeah, it's a long year. No big deal. You win the first race. But you're leading the points going out of the first race. That's a good place to be. The other one that impressed me would have to be Steve Torrance. Went to the final round again. That was 27 rounds in a row.
It was getting you were kind of going, wait, we're doing this again?
Unbelievable.
Right? Weren't you starting to think that? Here he goes again? Or maybe not again. Maybe just never stopped.
Right. Here he goes again. Never stops. I mean, he did never stop. That team is just incredible. I think Bobby Lagana, Richard Hogan, those guys are doing a great job. Torrance's team is unbelievable. So it's super.
To do what they did last year was truly remarkable. I mean, that was one of those amazing performances in the history of motorsport.
Yeah.
Right?
6 wins in a row.
It's really hard to explain how difficult that is to do. And then to see the gap in time, and then they come back to Pomona and they start right off again.
Yeah.
Incredible.
Absolutely unbelievable. So I think those two, those are my favorite 2 stories probably. I mean, Force Height won. I don't know. All that was a little bit expected. But I think Doug Coletta going out and winning the Winter Nationals after having some pretty serious changes over the offseason, I thought that was a great story. And he's a great guy. He's my friend, and I was happy to see that team do well.
It's always good to see an old dirt racer do pretty good.
That's right. He's a pretty good dirt racer,
He's a great dirt racer. Of course he is. What did you think about Pro Stock?
And I hate to say it, Pro Stock guys are, and Erica, I mean, I have friends over there, but they've got to do something, in my opinion. And this is just my opinion. I'm a Top Fuel guy. I've always been a Top Fuel guy. I hate to bash Pro Stock, but they've got to do something to bring some excitement back. There's just not that much excitement watching those cars run. You watch Nitro Harleys, they're fun to watch. You watch the Pro Stock motorcycles, they're fun to watch. They're
Pro Mod.
Pro Mods. Yeah, I mean, Pro Mods. There's excitement. The cars look different. And unfortunately, funny cars falling a little bit into the same look kind of thing, but there's something about a 10,000 horsepower car and it shakes the ground. That's always going to be exciting, and you don't know where they're going to go. Pro Stock cars, gosh, they just got to do something to bring back the excitement. I don't know what it is. I think, Erica obviously has a lot of fans because of her history with the movie and all this stuff. I mean, and she's a great spokesperson for the sport. But gosh, I don't know. They're just not that much fun to watch. And
Yeah.
and maybe it's just me. I don't know. I don't think so, because when I'm sitting there and I look in the stands, there's no one in the stands, or very few people. I mean, hardcore,
Yeah.
drag racing fans are going to sit there and watch it. But I don't know. I think they need to do something with that class. I don't know. They're making some changes, obviously, this year, but they're making changes by running less races. So what's the message there? I don't know.
Yeah, it's not that the cars performance-wise,
Oh, they're impressive.
they're impressive.
Performance-wise.
They're
Oh, yeah.
impressive. And congrats to Bo Butner on the win this weekend.
Absolutely.
But I think what we're talking about here is injecting some sort of visual, sensorial excitement into the category that
Right.
it's lacking right now.
Well, they don't pull the front end.
Yeah.
They're when they barely get out of shape, they lift because they're really sensitive. The suspension on them are not made for going sideways at all. Like they
Right,
roll over. They're
right.
very sensitive to that. So there's just not a big show. And drag racing is a show. That's what it is. It's a show. And when you watch those Nitro Harleys, you watch the Pro Mod cars, you watch the fuel cars, it's a show. And the Pro Stock cars aren't the show that they used to be, right? They used to pull the front end, and
Yep.
it was Warren Johnson and Bob Glidden
Yep.
and
Butch Leal.
Butch Lee. I mean, it was just big names, and it was
Yeah.
exciting, and
Yeah.
they were crazy out of shape, and they drove him down the track. They can't do that anymore.
Right.
So I think the technology of that class,
It's gotten too good.
yeah, it's gotten too good. I mean, they don't pull the front end. They just, they look like
Yeah.
slot cars going down the track. I don't know what to do about that. Then on the other hand, you've got those factory stock cars that people like watching them. They're
Yeah.
fun. They pull the front end. You can go down to a Dodge dealer, Chevy dealer, Ford dealer, and buy one of those
It's
cars.
relatable.
That's kind of cool. I think that's cool. I don't know. Maybe there's a way to mesh that together to make these cars look like showroom cars again. That's what Pro Stock started out. Maybe they need to look more like that. I think funny
Yeah.
cars need to look more like that too, to be honest. But
Don't get me started there.
Yeah.
One thing at a time.
one at a time.
One at a time. I'm 100% with you on the Pro Stock thing. And it's a shame because it was one of the coolest categories.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and they had 30 cars show up at every race. I remember, in the 80s and 90s, I mean, it seemed like they were building those things in the back of the lanes. They just, there were so many Pro Stock cars.
Yeah.
And there was regional Pro Stock guys that would run, races in the Northeast, run races in the Southeast,
Out
West
west,
Coast races.
yeah.
And now they don't have that. So I don't know. They need to do something. I think NHRA knows they need to do something. The racers, I'm sure, know
Yeah.
they need to do something. What do they need to do? I don't have any idea. They
And
need
there's
to do
some great teams and good sponsors over there.
Yeah.
So you don't want to waste all of that, but it's what do we do with it?
What do you do with it?
Yeah.
I don't know.
That's a challenge. And it might be one of those, I'm afraid, as we get here in Pomona, just in the first one of the books, that this is going to be something we're going to talk a lot about.
Unfortunately, I think it is. And I got a feeling that NHRA, last week, having Glenn Cromwell on the show, I could tell he was a little bit reserved about the NHRA. Oh, no, we're doing great things. We're making changes with the pros in regards to Pro Stock.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I mean, it's cutting the schedule back. Is that a great thing? I don't know. Maybe he seemed to think because you could get some more guys to come out and participate because it was less of a financial commitment. Maybe, but you're talking about rich guys that want to spend a little bit less money, not full-time racing teams that have full-time sponsors and so forth. So I don't know.
Yeah, and one of those challenges too is that, you think about like the Summit guys, Anderson and Jason Line over there, they got so much pieces and parts and money invested in all this. You can't just give them a radical shift.
Right.
I mean, that's unfair too, right?
It's totally unfair.
There's a lot of things to think about in trying to do this. Well, we got some cool guests coming on board today. We got Austin Prock and the Snake.
Well, and there's a story there actually, because Snake helped bring Austin Prock and the Montana Tool Company. We'll talk a little bit more about that. But Snake was pretty much involved. I saw him at Pomona, walked up to him, and hey, what's going on? And then he goes, how about the kid? So I mean, he was focused on Austin Prock over the weekend. So I think that's great that we have both of those guys on the show. We've got a little bit of a good story to tell between the two of those, and obviously Prudhomme. I mean, he's got as many stories as anyone.
Hopefully, we'll hear a few of them.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Well, we're going to get all that started right here on the Straight Line here on MRN, presented by O'Reilly Auto Parts. Stay with us. Coming right back with Austin Prock.
He's 2 car lengths out in front, and the pack is steaming down behind him.
Only one goal.
One moment you're the attacker, the next moment you're the defender.
One dream.
Side by side for the race lead.
One tradition.
Free to go. It's on here at Daytona.
Can be the greatest.
Everybody wants to win the Great American Race.
No one ever thought he would contend for the win.
NASCAR returns.
But he's going to do it.
And the 2019 season begins.
Pull your seatbelts down. It's getting ready to get really crazy.
The Daytona 500, Sunday, February 17th on the Motor Racing Network. The 1993 Cup Series season had more than its fair share of twists and turns.
Checkered flags waving. I look in my mirror, and here's Earnhardt right on my tail, and he goes down low to pass me. And I said, oh, no, you don't.
As Wallace spins, Wallace's car goes on its nose.
Hear stories that you've never heard before in a 10-part series called The 1993 Season, 25 years later.
And Davey was behind me, and we came off the corner, and there's a guy standing in the middle of the racetrack.
You can download it for free on iTunes and at MRN.com right now.
Join Motor Racing Network every Tuesday night for NASCAR Live. Get the latest news and exclusive interviews from the biggest names in the sport.
But I mean, I don't know how to summarize it any better that, a driver's home track where his family and friends are all present just feels like a bigger event.
Hear the thoughts and opinions from NASCAR insiders and much more.
I mean, when people come up to me all the time and say, hey, Rusty, who's going to win this week? I consistently say the 4 car.
It's NASCAR Live every Tuesday evening at 7 Eastern on the Motor Racing Network.
Everybody, welcome back to the Straight Line presented by O'Reilly Auto Parts here on MRN. O'Reilly Auto Parts, better prices every day. Ralph Shaheen and Doug Herbert with you, and welcoming into the show the guy that made a bunch of noise this week, and Austin Prock. Great to have you with us, Austin.
Yeah, I'm happy to be on here.
Austin, first time on the show. I'm sorry. No, first time on the show. I was so excited to see you out there this weekend running well. Man, that deal came together really quick. Tell us just a little bit about it. I mean, you made a move with your dad's teams over at Schumacher's over to Force and new sponsor. All of a sudden, you're driving a top field car. The funny car deal changed. I mean, there's a lot to talk about, but give us the high points.
Yeah, the Sunday before Pomona, Force came into the trailer. We are out at Phoenix watching it rain. We were trying to make some laps in the top field dragster, and he came in the trailer and he said he got us a deal. He said the Snake hooked us up and brought Montana Brand and Rocky Mountain Twist on board, and we were going to be racing this year. So Monday we thrashed and got a few laps in, got me crossover licensed, and we showed up at Pomona.
Tell us a little bit about those sponsors, because they're new to the sport that maybe not a lot of people know too much about them.
Yeah, so Montana Brand is a power tools accessory company. They make drill bits, countersinks, things like that. They have some very cool products, and Rocky Mountain Twist actually manufactures the part for them.
Right. So, how did that deal come together? With bringing in a new sponsor, new company, new people to the sport of NHRA drag racing, that is always a great thing. So the ability to be able to put that together from Prudhomme and Force, and then Austin Prock driving the car. I mean, that's a lot of pieces to make happen. You guys did it in a hurry.
Yeah, I couldn't believe how quick it happened. Prudhomme, he was at the Barrett Jackson show, and he had become good buddies with Frank Tiggs, who owns Montana Brand. And he asked him if he wanted to go drag race, and he said he's got the kid for it and a great team. And it all came together last minute. We thrashed and got the car wrapped, trailers wrapped, awnings up, and got crew shirts done all in a handful of days, which that was awesome. I couldn't believe it all came together like it did.
And you won the first round, and you had to pedal the car. How much adrenaline was pumping through you when you got to the far end?
Oh man, I was pumped. That was the way to do it in style right there. I give credit to my circle track experience, being able to catch the car that quick, and then to have no chutes on top of it at the top end, going through the beams at 318, and to get her woed down. I think we did it in style and impressed a lot of people.
Hey, Austin, I heard about at the finish line on one of your passes, you were racing Torrance, and you kind of look at the time slip and go, okay, we're coming for you this year. Tell us what led up to that and how that played out.
Nothing. Steve, he's a great competitor out here. In my opinion, he's had the best car the past 3 years, and he drives excellent. He goes up there and he leaves on people all day long. So for me to go up there in my second run and be able to leave on him, we're good buddies, and I just figured I'd throw a little jab at him and just get it on camera. It's good for the media, it's good for the sport. Little smack talking here and there, and it was just all in fun and games.
So you got Forrest and you got Snake around to get advice from. Who gave you the best piece of advice on that day, on race day?
Probably the Snake. He just tells me to go up there and just do my deal, kid. I'll talk to him, and he's like, I don't want to hear it. Just do your deal, So he believes in me, and having John Force and the Snake behind me, that gives me a lot of confidence. Those are two legends that believe in me, and that gives me confidence to thrive on.
Hey, Austin, tell us about the first time you can remember going to the drag races. Obviously, your grandfather and your dad have been going to the drag races for a long, long time. I've known them for a long, long time. Tell us about your first memory at the drag races, and then how could you end up where you are now? Like, wow.
Man, I don't even know if there's just one. I think I was at a drag race when I was 2 weeks old, so it's all I've ever known. It's life to me, I race. That's all I do. So, growing up, meeting everyone out there is family, growing up with like the Selzy boys, they're still some of my best friends, and they always will be. The family aspect of this sport is it's amazing, and that's one of the greatest things about it.
I want to know how cool it was to run the Custom Body Enterprises car of your grandfather.
Yeah, that was cool. I just got to cackle it off, and we did that a handful of years ago, and that was pretty sweet. Ross Howard, he put that thing together, and he did an excellent job. That's the original body on it and all the tin work, and he restored it perfectly.
Austin, tell us about what you're looking forward to this year. Putting this thing together on such short notice, coming out, winning first round at Pomona against your teammate, which, that had to be, that put Forrest in a little bit of a difficult place on the starting line, I'm sure. But tell us about what you're looking forward to this year, what you're most excited about, and what you're expecting.
I'm really excited to work with John Schaefer and Ronnie Thompson. They're some of my good friends, and we're all on the same page. We have fun racing together, and that's our main goal, is just to go out there and have fun, and the results will come, as you saw this weekend. So we only have a handful of laps under our belt as a whole team, and to run in the 60s in only our sixth professional run, that was pretty stout. I'm looking forward to winning rounds and getting some race wins. I honestly believe that we can be a contender in this game, and we want to win some races for Montana Brand and Rocky Mountain Twist.
Look, Austin, there's no reason for you not to believe in yourself. You have every reason to, and you got great equipment and support around you and all that. Why should the fans believe in this right now? Because, look, this is a new deal, and this is a tough sport and a tough series you're running in, and you get guys like Torrance and Antron Brown and all that you got to deal with. Man, that is not an easy category at all. What is it that we don't know that gives you the reason to believe that can all happen?
We all three of us and the whole team, we live it. We breathe it. We sleep it. We do it all. We were in the shop, just us three. We lost our team this winter, and it was just us three in there building the car. We put that whole car together ourselves. And we had to service all the parts and get everything ready to go to Phoenix Test. So we're hungry. We want to win, and we want to do a good job for our great sponsors.
Well, that's a great thing, and I'm sure that you will do it. You've been around drag racing long enough. I know that that car is going to run really well, and you've got a couple people in your phone book that could probably help you a little bit with any advice, and you might not even call them in the phone book because they'll be right there in your face, right?
Yeah, absolutely. We got the John Force Racing Brain Trust over there. We have quite the fleet of tuners over there, and they're going to help us out. They're not going to let us fail. They're going to have our back just like we're going to have their back. And as a whole company, I think we're going to do great this year.
I'm sure the last thing you wanted to do was have a week or two off before the next race. You're probably so geared up you wanted to just go again this weekend. What are you going to do to entertain yourself between now and the next race coming up in Phoenix?
I don't even know. I guess I'm just going to sit here and relax. I'm already ready to go. I can't wait to get to Phoenix. But it's nice to have a weekend off. I get to take all this in. This whole past month has been a blur. So I'm ready to sit down and relax. I'm sure I'll be itching to go racing again here in about a half hour. But it is nice to relax right now.
Hey, Austin, besides what you're doing driving the car, what are some of the other things you do on the car? I know you've been around the pits and you probably can do any job on the car, but what is your job now working on the car besides driving?
Normal driver duties, pack the chute, mix the fuel. If we're in a pinch, I'll help out and pick up slack anywhere we can. But you know how these guys are. It's organized chaos. So if I'm not in the mix every lap, it's easy to get in the way with the crew guys with their routine. But if we are in a pinch and we blow the thing up or something, I'll get my hands dirty and help them out wherever I can. So on a normal day, if everything goes smooth, after we're done running, I help pick up the pit, load the car, just do what I can just to keep the crew guys respect. I'm a young kid out here, and I don't want to think I'm a joke or anything like that. So I'm still going to work hard off the track and work hard on the track.
Well, Austin, it's great to have you on today. We sure hope we get to have you back a few more times. Austin Prock, the driver of the Montana brand Rocky Mountain Twist, top fuel dragster for John Force Racing. Great run at the Winter Nationals, and we look forward to seeing you grabbing a Wally before the year's out.
Thank you. I appreciate you guys having me on.
Thanks, all right, Austin. Hey, stay with us. We're coming back for more with The Snake.
Hi, this is Mike Bagley. Join me and the rest of the MRN crew every Tuesday night for NASCAR Live. We'll put a bow on the weekend's action and get you ready for the upcoming race with the biggest names in the sport.
As you look at that particular race, that's been one of our best races over the years, and I think every driver in the garage is looking forward to racing this particular package.
Hear exclusive interviews, expert analysis, as well as stuff you won't hear anywhere else.
Oh, yeah, good job, guys. Good job.
It's NASCAR Live this Tuesday night at 7 Eastern on the Motor Racing Network.
MRN.com. Original online audio, video, and digital content. Need the latest information on each week's races? Check out the MRN.com Race Center. Need to find your local radio station for MRN original programs and Camping World Truck, Xfinity, and Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series races? Go to Stations on MRN.com. All the latest NASCAR news and opinion pieces, race schedules, driver standings, and archives of MRN programs, MRN race broadcasts, and so much more. MRN.com.
For children with chronic medical conditions, Victory Junction means friends, fun, freedom. That's because we provide a medically safe environment where kids who live in a world of hospitals and doctors' visits can laugh, play, and discover all they can be, all at no cost to their families. Victory Junction inspires confidence, builds self-esteem, and changes the life of every camper who comes through our gates. Find out how you can change a child's life. Go to victoryjunction.org.
And we are back with MRN's The Straight Line, presented by O'Reilly Auto Parts. Ralph Sheen, Doug Herber with you. And now, Doug, we get to be joined by one of the true legends of drag racing and of motorsports in general. The Snake, Don Prudhomme, with us. How you doing, Don?
Hey, nice to be on the show, guys. Real good.
Snake, thanks for joining us. It was good to see you last weekend out on the starting line at Pomona. You had to be excited about the situation that you put together with Austin Prock. It looks like a home run, and the kid's doing a great job.
Yeah, it just all came together. Sometimes sponsorships take years to put together, and this particular one took about 2 weeks. And so it was one of those deals that just kind of, I don't want to use the word fell into my lap, but it sort of did. And we were able to get the whole thing up and running within a couple of weeks' time, so it was quite nice.
What is it about Austin Prock that you saw in him that made you believe in him?
Well, that's a good question. But to be quite honest, I've known the kid ever since he was a little guy. His grandfather, Tom Prock, is one of my best buddies, and of course Jimmy Prock. We helped raise him, and now it's a grandson. And Austin was into sprint cars, like the Chili Bowl and places like that he had run. And, man, he did a hell of a job. And I kept telling him, man, if you ever want to go drag racing, you could drive one of those things blindfolded compared to a sprint car. Sprint cars, probably one of the toughest things there is to drive. And he took to it like a duck to water. And so when we put him in the dragster, man, it was like no sweat. He had it down.
Snake, you've been going to quite a few Winter Nationals, obviously. I've seen you race at a bunch of them over the years. Tell us a little bit about maybe one of your favorite Winter Nationals and some of your favorite experiences out at Pomona in the past.
Well, I go back a long, long time, and first Winter Nationals is the one that I remember the most, and that was driving for Roland Leong in 1965 with the Hawaiian Dragster, with Keith Black doing the engine work on the car, and it was just a great car. It came off of it was basically a copy of the Greer Black Prudhomme car. Those of your viewers or listeners that know nostalgia cars, the Greer Black car was quite a car out here, especially in Southern California. And Roland built a car, and he called it the Hawaiian, and I got a chance to drive it. And we went to Pomona and won the Winter Nationals, and it followed that up by going to the U.S. Nationals and winning that all in the same year.
Wow.
Yeah, just incredible. One of the things I was wondering about with you is you guys did so much match racing back in the day. And I remember when you guys would come up to Sacramento Raceway where I was a kid watching you race, and you guys would leave the line and just disappear out into the darkness at the far end of those racetracks. What was one of the sketchiest venues you ever raced at like that?
Oh my God! Where do you want to start? That's Ralph. That's how we made our living. Is like kind of like the sprint car guys, at least how they used to. You barnstorm all around the country. The national events, especially back in the early days, the early '60s, there was only a few national events. So we paid more attention, especially when Mongoose and I got hooked up. Tom McEwen and I, and we had the Hot Wheel cars. We match raced the heck out of them because that's the way we made our living. They don't pay you to go to a national event and race. It's kind of like NASCAR. You pay them. They don't pay you to show up. And so basically, we had to match race to make a living to be able to afford to go to a national event.
Man,
so the match races was a very, very important part of our racing. Plus, it taught you to be a good racer too. You run on tracks that weren't all that desirable, slippery, and whatever it might be. So when we unloaded at a national event, we were always one of the toughest cars to beat because we had so much information, so much data that we could take along with us when you go into a big race.
Yeah, going out and running at all those places where they've got the cars lined up, shining their headlights on the track. There's like,
sure.
Man, that really makes you, that turns you into a driver real quick, huh?
Yeah, especially when they didn't have guardrails either, So we're talking the early 60s, It wasn't much out there, but that's how Garlett and, Shirley Muldowney and Connie Coletta, that's how we all cut our teeth with match racing. And I miss those days, but I also think that that's one of the reasons that I don't want to use the word that we became so popular, but we become fairly popular with the fans because we would go around to, let's say, Islip, New York, or Long Island, New York to race, and English Township, New Jersey, Atco Raceway. So we'd run all these little tracks. Well, even in today's world, I'll get someone to come up to me and say, "Hey, man, I saw you guys race your Hot Wheel cars in 1970 at Islip Dragway, and I helped you pack your chute." So fans got to know us, because there was really no TV to speak of in those days at national events. So we actually just met the fans as we went along and got a fan following.
Yeah, and that data was all seat of the pants data too, right? I mean, there's no electronics or nothing back there. It's just what you were able to figure out.
Yeah, that's right. Doug could tell you the cars weren't nearly as complicated, and it was more of a driver's car back then than what it is today. I mean, the driver had to do more than just, do more than what he has to do today. Although the cars are a lot faster, there was still a lot to do as far as shifting the cars and burnouts and being able to tell the crew members after a run what they need to do to the car to tune it up, because you were the computer. You're the one that had to give them the information.
Hey, Snake, you mentioned our dear friend, and yours for a lot longer than mine, Tom McEwen. What a loss of losing Tom McEwen. That we had.
Yes, it was. Yeah, we were buddies, since the early '60s, and people used to think we were big rivals and didn't like each other, and actually we were the best of friends, even to the day he died. We spent pretty much every day on the phone. We were very, very close, and we were complete opposites. So he used to think I was crazy because I still wanted to race, and he wasn't into it at all. But no, we were opposites, but yet we both together we were quite a team.
Yeah, for many of us, a large chunk of our childhood was lost that day. We lost the mongoose.
For sure.
You talk about how you were able to drive those cars back in those days, and the quality of wheelman that you are. Do you ever think that maybe you could have been as good driving something else, like an Indy car or a stock car? Do you ever think maybe you should have done that just for fun?
Yeah, of course. I've always been real attracted to open wheel racing. That's been my most favorite form of racing. I got a chance in 1975 to go back to Bologna, Italy with our funny car. We had just won the championship and got to do a burnout at a car show. And at the car show, Niki Lauda was there, and some of the Formula One drivers got a chance to go over to the Formula One plant. And Niki Lauda took me for a ride around the test track in a 308 GTB Ferrari, and I was hooked. I was absolutely hooked on road racing after that. And I actually tried to do it or wanted to do it, but I was making a living, drag racing. It was just hard to give it up because, I was painting cars before I started drag racing and started making a decent living, and it was just hard to give up. And do I regret it? Not really. I really don't. Those were, especially back in those days, those were dangerous times. Those were monocoque constructed Indy cars. God, a good friend of mine, Sweet Savage, we lost him. So anyhow, I'm happy with what I ended up doing.
Snake, tell us a little bit about what you're up to these days. I know, we see you on your social media at Barrett Jackson, and you're up at Glamis with Evernham and all of our guys there, and you go to the races with Ganassi. Then you've got this thing coming up in Gainesville, the unfinished business with a bunch of the legends down there. Tell us a little bit about what you're up to, what you're doing, what's going on.
Well, fortunately, I've had a lot of good friends in other forms of racing. Probably more friends over there than I did at drag racing because I didn't have to compete against them. And when we had to close down in 2009 our racing operations, I was like a little bit lost. Didn't know what the hell I was going to do with myself. And Chip Ganassi was a good friend, but I didn't realize how good a friend he was until he called me and said, "Hey, just go with us. Go to the races with us and be part of our crew." And I thought, hell, why not? And then that really helped fill that void that I was missing in drag racing. And Chip basically took me under his wing, and we're the best of friends now. But that's allowed me to meet other drivers too, like Jeff Gordon and Ray Everham and Rusty Wallace and all those guys, Tony Stewart. We all hang out a lot together. We go to Ron Pratt's place out near Yuma in the desert. That's where Tony broke his back a few years ago. And we have a hell of a time. Let's just put it like that. Drink a lot of beer.
I mean, there's no stories being told at that get-together, right, Snake?
No. It's guys only, man.
No stories there.
Boys Weekend at the Dunes, and I'll tell you that Gordon, he's a piece of work. He comes across as just nice little guy or nice guy on TV, but he's pretty wild. He's a lot of fun. We become really good friends.
That's great. Hey, anything that the fans should be looking for? We're always excited to hear about new memorabilia things coming. Bringing stuff back from the Hot Wheels stuff. Anything like that in the pipeline?
Well, I'm doing a book now. I'm doing a book. Cartech is the publisher, and Ilana Cherry is doing the writing of it. And it's a little bit different. I've been asked to do books before, but I hadn't really been into it that much because it's really mind-boggling. You have to go back to your birthday, when you're born, pretty much. And but I have a story. I think a pretty good story. There's things about me that people don't know that people, I'm sure, have been curious about for years. And I explain my whole background coming up and everything. And of course, we get into cars, but it's also more about my personal life. And so it's just time to share that with fans. excuse me, it's time to share that. So I'm doing that now. So
when can we expect to see that?
6 months. that's our date that we got to have it done. So we got the first chapter turned in and working away on it. It's going to be a nice book, though. I think you'll enjoy it. And then among that, we've got this thing coming up at Gainesville. This what they call it?
NHRA's unfinished business.
Unfinished business. Yeah. Yeah. Well, they're unfinished business, and we're driving Toyota, so I don't know. I don't think our business will be quite finished there, but it's a place that maybe we can heal some major wounds that we've all had with each other in the past. Years ago, you never get us together to do this, and I guess as we all got a little older now, we can patch things up and go out there and race each other and have some fun.
Well, you'd sure hope so. You never know with Shirley. She gets fired up once in a while, and then you can't talk to her there's a little bit of period of time in between.
Oh, yeah. Well, I'll have the keys to her car. I'll lock her in it so she can't get out. If she gets too mouthy, I'll lock her up. No, Shirley and I are pretty tight. We're all pretty good friends nowadays. We actually talk, Shirley and Garland, Jesus, Ace. I just saw him yesterday out at the racetrack. Joe Amato. So we're all still good buddies.
Well, that's great.
Terry Vance, of course, would be there, and I thought that was a hell of a nice thing Terry Vance did for your foundation there, Doug.
Oh, thanks, Nick. Yeah, I was just blown away. Terry, he brought his kids, and he was just so impressed. He left, and he goes, "Doug, this changed their life, man. I want to figure out how to help you somehow." But I had no idea what he was up to. Just absolutely blown away.
I was leaning up against a truck on the starting line, and he was like right next to me, and he said, "What's up, dude?" And I go, "Man, how about you?" He says, "I'm giving away $1 million." I looked at him and says, "You're what? $1 million?" I said, "Yeah, Doug Herbert, and his foundation." So I thought, wow, that's pretty strong. He's just one hell of a nice guy, man. That guy's a class dude. Not because he's getting you the $1 million, but just I've known him a long time. He's just done so much for the aftermarket business, motorcycles, all that stuff.
He sure has. He sure has. Well, and Snake, you sure have impacted many of us. Been racing hero to so many of us growing up. It's really cool to see you still out the track, bud.
Thank you, man. I dig all forms of racing. I watch your motocross. I watch you doing your motocross stuff, man, and it's cool. And I'm just real happy into racing, and I'm glad to still play a part in drag racing. It's a lot of fun, especially now with Austin Prock. I love young rookies. I love the guys that's full of enthusiasm. They come up there. It's a whole different deal than dealing with one of the veteran guys, So, like, I couldn't deal with me. I can deal with the rookie, but I could never deal with a snake, So.
Well, we look forward to seeing you in Unfinished Business at the Gator Nationals coming up in March, and can't wait to get a copy of the book. And as always, I'll see you at Indianapolis.
Okay, real good, Ralph.
All right, Snake.
Thanks, Snake. Good to talk to you, bud.
Later.
We will be right back to wrap up the straight line after this.
On the racetrack, you can only go as far as your engine can take you. It's the same on the highway. Making a run with a Detroit engine under the hood gives you the industry-leading fuel economy, reliability, and durability your business needs. The Detroit DD13, DD15, and DD16 engine solutions are specifically engineered to make a run as profitable as possible. Don't just want better business solutions, demand them. Learn more at demanddetroit.com.
Experience different.
Boyer sees the checkered flag.
Experience excitement, drama, and action.
And he wins the STP 500.
Experience NASCAR at its best. Experience Martinsville. The Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series returns to Martinsville Speedway March 24th for the STP 500. Tickets start at just $47 and are on sale now. Call 877-RACE-TICKS or visit martinsvillespeedway.com today to start your experience.
2019 is the Motor Racing Network's 50th year, and things are about to get a lot louder. I'm Woody Kane. The NASCAR season is revving its engine, and MRN's two biggest loudspeakers are back when race spotter Joey Meyer and I bring you the latest news, results, and headlines every Monday on MRN Out Loud. Crank it up, Mondays on MRN.com, iTunes, or wherever podcasts are heard.
And we are back to O'Reilly Auto Parts presentation of the Straight Line here on MRN. Don't forget, O'Reilly Auto Parts, better prices every day. And that means it's time for red light, green light. You want to start with your red light?
Red light, green light. I would say the red light has to be Mother Nature,
Yeah.
Pomona. I mean, Saturday they had a great crowd out there. It was a good race day on Saturday. And then Sunday the rain came. They didn't have people in the stands. They had to postpone the race. They didn't even get one round of top fuel in. That has to be the red light. It's nothing that had anybody had any control over, but it was a bummer.
Yeah, it is. It just kills a little bit of what you're hoping would be some momentum to build up to lead you into the next round, which will be Phoenix coming up in a couple of weeks. Okay, how about a green light?
Well, green light. Prudhomme said it, man. Prudhomme said it best, I guess. Terry Vance donated $1 million to the Brakes charity. That's going to train a lot of kids. I think that's going to make a lot of difference in a lot of kids' lives, and I'm just so thankful. As I said when Prudhomme was on the phone, Terry brought his 2 sons to the class, and I didn't even know he signed up. Like, I walked into the class; it was one of our classes in Orange County, and hey, what's going on? What are you doing here? Why didn't you call me and tell me you were bringing your kids? And he goes, no, I wanted to go on and sign up online and just do like regular and just see how you were doing things. And he goes, man, I'm impressed. This is unbelievable. And then he called me a few weeks later. He goes, dude, it changed my kid's life coming to that class, and that, obviously means a lot to me because of the reason for the charity, and just for him to have as much belief in what we're doing. He said, I want to help you do more of what you're doing. And so, that's unbelievable. Just, I was blown away. I think you should have heard the crowd at Pomona Saturday was a pretty good crowd. And Alan Reinhart kind of built it up, and he said, so Terry, what are you going to do to help this foundation out? And I'm donating $1 million. And it was, it sounded like a record around the crowd. It was like, wow.
Yeah, I know you texted.
And Prudhomme said he was lucky he was leaning on the car. He would have fell over,
You texted a picture of the check to me and our producer, Daryl. And I think we were all just amazed at the generosity that he showed. That's incredible. And what that provides for everybody who wants to take their kids through your program, which they should do.
There's just no reason not to. The Brakes program reduces the likelihood of getting into a crash by, according to one study that we had done, 64% less likely to be involved in a crash after coming to the program. So we constantly, just like a race car, right? We constantly try and improve the program, make it better, and make it more effective. And with Terry's help, make it to more places and train more teenagers.
Well, hopefully we won't have a weather issue when we get to Arizona. We shouldn't. It should be good weather there for the Magic Dry Organic Absorbent NHRA Arizona Nationals. That's coming up at Wild Horse Pass Motorsports Park, February 22nd through the 24th. We sure hope you can make it to the races there. If you would like to get some tickets, go check the NHRA schedule and then go to NHRA.com and click on the red ticket tab in the top right corner and get your tickets to go to the races.
I'll tell you what, there's nothing bad about that. People go to Phoenix and test prior to going to the Winter Nationals. They go back to Phoenix, which usually means a lot of data at Phoenix. The cars are going to run fast. It's a good show at Phoenix. It's not as big of a venue as Pomona. It's not going to be as busy probably getting through the pit. So, good chance to get to the drivers, talk to them, get autographs, stuff like that, and also see some really good racing.
Yeah, great time. Well, that's it for this week's episode of MRN's The Straight Line presented by O'Reilly Auto Parts. For Doug Herbert, I'm Ralph Shaheen. We will see you next week.